What's going on, everyone? How you doing today? It's Hingy Roleplay once again, and I want to show you one of the curious builds that I came up with when I've been experimenting with Might of the Earth and Seismic Slam, and I terribly wanted to find some speed farming builds, and then I eventually realized that the Might of the Earth set actually buffs Ancient Spear and Seismic Slam, as well as Ground Stomp, Avalanche, and all the other shit. And most of the time we just stick to Earthquake and that's it. But some people commented on my builds with the Hammer of the Ancients and basically told me to check the Seismic Slam with the Might of the Earth. I checked it, played it for the whole fucking day, and tested different things and wanted to find the perfect setup to play the maximized Seismic Slam damage, and I came up with this build, clear 96, and by the time this build will be released I may potentially clear even higher. And honestly, the build feels much more it has simply more potential than the classic Earthquake, because classic Earthquake kind of suffers a few things. It suffers the damage against single target really sucks. With the Earthquake you need a lot of density to progress, and basically it's just damage over time build, while this Seismic Slam, when we incorporate Seismic Slam into Might of the Earth set, it basically helps against single target tremendously. And I will go with the build and tell you how exactly it works. And at first I would like to say what are the problems with the build. First of all, we attacking with Seismic Slam Shattered Ground, and that feels like tremendously slow. After Hammer of the Ancients, which attacks really fast with the bracers that buff attack speed of the Hammer of the Ancients, Seismic Slam feels incredibly slow, and especially when we're using two-hander it attacks incredibly slow. It hits hard, definitely, the AoE is good, but it feels fucking slow. And another thing that is pretty problematic is the only weapon you need to incorporate in the build is the Blade of the Tribe, because it initially rolls with a stat as increased Earthquake damage. Fury of the Vanished Peak has its legendary power as out of the stats, and can also roll with the double life per Fury spam generation. And Blade of the Tribes rolls as Earthquake damage buff on the stat itself, unfortunately not as the legendary power. And I'm really waiting for developers to remake this item and make the legendary power put this Earthquake buff into the legendary power like the rest of the legendary items in the game. Unfortunately, as Earthquake is in the start, we have to equip the Blade of the Tribes and cube the Fury of the Vanished Peak. However, if we could equip Fury of the Vanished Peak, that will tremendously help us surviving, because Fury of the Vanished Peak is one of the only items in the game that can potentially double roll with life per Fury span, and can roll up to 5,000 life per Fury span. Imagine that we span 30 Fury with Seismic Slam. 30 Fury on 5,000 is what? Is 150k per each hit. This is a lot of healing, this tremendous amount of healing, and with the life per Fury on the belt as well, this gives us tremendous amount of recovery. Life on hit, it gives much less recovery, and unfortunately even with Blade of the Tribes, if you roll life per Fury here, it will be around 250k, which is just double, half of that. So basically, if we could equip Fury of the Vanished Peak, it will give us tremendous amount of recovery and toughness instead of the Blade of the Tribes. But for now we have to use this setup, and I'll explain it in detail. So how the build works basically. We leap and do Earthquakes, and also on the fire rotation of Conviction of the Elements we start punching Seismic Slam. We do Seismic Slam also on the other rotations, it's no big deal, but on the fire rotation is where your Seismic Slam must be ready to spend maximum Fury. And keep in mind that we do not use Rumble Rune here on the Seismic Slam. We use Shattered Ground and spend basically Fury partially like in portions. So we do not just spend everything at once to heal us like in the classic Earthquake build. So it's basically a mix of Earthquake and Seismic Slam, and these two things, they are compensating the weaknesses and the strengths of each other. Seismic Slam helps with a single target and it also provides more steady healing across the rift, while Earthquake basically kills all the fucking trash with the damage over time it provides. So, how the build works: Might of the Earth set, strength with hit chance here. Seismic Slam will be good to have here instead of Vitality. Chest, strength with Earthquake damage. Shoulders, perfect shoulder should be strength with area damage, and I think that either Earthquake or cooldown reduction. I prefer Earthquake damage here, but cooldown reduction is also good because the Wrath of the Berserker cooldown is extremely long with this build as well. The gloves are strength with hit damage and chance, area damage will be good, pants strength with all res, boots strength with all res and Seismic Slam damage. The weapon is the Blade of the Tribes, and you should have basically just strength, damage and life per fury span, and as maximum earthquake damage as possible. The rings are composite rows, basically just strength, area damage, hit damage, hit chance, conviction of damage, hit damage, hit chance and area damage, travel splash, fire, hit damage and chance. And another thing that I want to mention about the build is how different it is from the classic earthquake build, because we have actually the Endless Walk set. We are very stationary in this build. We do not really like leap entirely, just do damage with the leap. We actually do damage, most of the damage through the Seismic Slam. That's why when we actually cast Seismic Slam, we are stationary and we gain this 100% buff to the damage with the Endless Walk set. And Endless Walk set absolutely beats Earthquake here in this build. The bracers are the newly buffed Bracer of Destruction, which can rolls up to 500% increased damage to the Seismic Slam, and stat should be fire, strength, wit and hit chance. On the amulet also fire, hit damage and chance. Legendary gems are Esoteric Alteration, Bane on the Trap and Bane on the Stricken. The belt is the newly reworked and buffed as well. The Girdle of Giants, which rolls up to Seismic Slam, increase earthquake damage by almost 250%. And the stats should be strength, weight, attack speed and life per fury span. This is very good stats to have on the belt. Attack speed is very important to make our Seismic Slam faster because it's extremely slow skill. Like I said, it's very fucking slow. So the normal gems are diamonds basically everywhere. In the cube we have the Fury of the Vanished Peak, now rolls with up to 500% increased Seismic Slam damage. Loot socks to triple our leaps as well, and Band of Might basically for the damage reduction. When we leap we get Band of Might buff here, and this is all our damage reduction along with the Endless Walk buff as well as Esoteric Alteration. On the left button is Seismic Slam Shattered Ground, this is fire. On the right button is Leap Call of the Arid, not anything else, not depth from above. We do not do stuns. Stuns are not really needed because we don't do Ancient Path and Defenders. We have Bracer of Destruction here, so Call of the Arid is pulls, and it basically pulls all the enemies around. Okay, so Warcry Charge. Warcry is very good because it's also procs Avalanche, but not only this, but Warcry Charge actually helps generating fury against single target against Rift Guardian. I dropped Earth and Might here, passive completely because, you know, it's a bit of a waste. We do not really need that much fury. We don't really spend fury as fast as with the Rumble rune of the Seismic Slam. So we spend fury gradually, like casting. So basically we can drop Earth and Might completely and instead use Warcry Charge to help generate fury and density against single elites as well as against a Rift Guardian. This is very good. Threatening Shot failed to adjust a buff against 25% increased damage from all sources against the enemies. Earthquake Molten Fury is the fire rune for the Earthquake, does most damage. Wrath of the Berserker Insanity, just the buff that we're working towards with the massive cooldowns here. The passive, the Boon of Vulcanus, Ruthless, Nerves of Steel and Rampage. This about it. You can also try to use Berserker Rage or Brawler here if you wish, but these passives are pretty much the most important, I think, out of all. So this is it. Thanks for watching and see you soon.